Real Madrid looks like they're about to become a super team under Xabi Alonso. The signings are smart, the structure is forming, and for once Perez is backing the manager. But then Alonso's first game ended in a 1-1 draw against Al Hilal, and just like that the cracks start to show. Because beneath all the hype there's a big problem Xabi Alonso has to fix fast. But what are the problems and how can they affect Real Madrid? You can already feel it. Real Madrid aren't just preparing for another season, they're building something different, something dangerous. And it's not just about signing big names for headlines anymore. This time there's a real plan, a clear direction. You look at the way the team is being shaped under Xabi Alonso and it feels like Madrid is finally stepping into the modern era with structure and strategy. And what's even more surprising? Florentino Perez is backing it. For once, he's not trying to control everything. He's not forcing flashy signings or pulling the strings behind the scenes. He's giving Alonso space, trust. The players coming in aren't just marketable, they fit the system. Take Dean Howson, for example. Strong, calm, composed on the ball, and positionally aware. He's exactly the kind of defender Alonso wants. Someone who can build from the back and still handle pressure. Then there's Trent, fast, aggressive, technically sharp.
Alexander-Arnold, wow! Oh my goodness me!
He brings intensity to the back line and adds depth that Madrid have lacked in recent seasons. Both of them already look like they've been at the club for years. The way they move, the way they read the game, it's clear they weren't just signed because of potential. They were signed because they make tactical sense. You can see the early signs of Alonso's blueprint coming together. A balanced back line, a midfield that presses intelligently, and a team that's starting to look unified. It's not perfect yet, but it's promising. Madrid isn't just building a squad, they're building a system. One that has identity, one that has direction, and if Alonso can keep this up, this Madrid side might not just dominate, they might evolve into one of the most complete teams we've seen in years. But then came the first match, and the warning signs appeared early. Xabi Alonso's first match in charge wasn't supposed to be magical, but it also wasn't supposed to feel like this, flat. Real Madrid drew 1-1 with Al Hilal and immediately the opinions started flying. People were calling out Trent, saying certain players aren't good enough, questioning everything after just one game. But let's be honest, Alonso's had barely a handful of training sessions and even fewer with the actual starting 11. Most of the players on the pitch had trained together for 2, maybe 3 days at most. 6 of them just joined the squad last week. So no, this wasn't going to be some masterclass of positional play and fluid transitions. It was always going to be messy. But despite that, you could already see some of the new identity forming, and that's what matters. The match revealed a lot, some good signs, and unfortunately some serious issues. The scoreline wasn't the problem, it was the structure, the execution, the disconnection. And while Alonso himself said after the game, "I liked what I saw, but there's a lot of improvement needed," the truth is, the bad outweighed the good. First, let's give credit where it's due. There were some genuinely encouraging signs, especially when you consider this was the first time this group played together. Most obvious one? The press. For the first time in what feels like forever, Real Madrid were pressing with a clear structure. From the first second, Vini Jr. led the line, Gonzalo Garcia was relentless, and Jude was pushing into tight spaces to force errors. It wasn't just running around, it was coordinated, organized, smart. You could tell that Alonso's emphasis on intensity and spacing is already being installed, and it worked. Al Hilal's keeper was forced to go long more than once just to escape the pressure. That's not accidental, that's coaching. Dean Howson was another highlight, composed on the ball, aggressive in duels and confident stepping out from the back. He already looks like someone who fits this new Madrid perfectly. His distribution was sharp, his positioning was clean, and even under pressure he made smart decisions. Easily one of Madrid's best on the night. Then there's Trent. The outside noise will try to make it look like he flopped. He didn't. He played in midfield and looked like one of the only players willing to take risks with the ball. He led the team in progressive passes in the first half and showed signs that, once the chemistry clicks, he'll be a key outlet in transition and build-up. Tactically, Alonso also showed he's not afraid to adapt. The 4-3-3 wasn't working in the first half, saw it and he adjusted. Raheem moved out wide and shape-shifted, and the second half looked way more balanced. That's not something we've seen a lot of in recent years at Madrid, a coach who changes things early when it's not working. So yeah, there's reason to be optimistic, but that doesn't mean we ignore what didn't work, and there's plenty of that to talk about. Now, here's the truth. Madrid looked shaky, too shaky for the kind of team they want to become. You could feel it. The structure wasn't there, the build-up was slow, the midfield was disconnected, and the lack of understanding in key areas was worrying. Then there were long stretches in that first half where players had no idea where to position themselves. The midfielders didn't drop deep to collect the ball. No one took responsibility to open space. When Dean Howson looked up to make a pass, there were times when no one was showing. No movement, no options, and for all the pressing we saw out of possession, the on-ball structure looked weak. And this isn't just about fitness, this is about habits. Old ones, the kind that cost them last season, like the massive space between defence and midfield, or the way fullbacks were left isolated 1v2 constantly because the wingers didn't track back. It happened again. Frank Garcia on the left was exposed multiple times. Same with the right side. No cover, no compactness. Even with the changes in the second half, you could still see the gaps. And the frustrating part? Some of it is mental. This team still doesn't fully believe in what they're doing. It's still early, but you can tell they're not all in yet. And this is where Alonso's real work starts, because it's not just about signing players or running a high press. It's about fixing core tactical issues that have been ignored for too long. Let's start with the first one, the right side structural problem. But before we talk about that, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you. If there's one area that completely broke down in Xabi Alonso's first game, it was the right side of the pitch. And when I say broke down, I mean it looked like a part of the team that hadn't trained together at all. This wasn't just a bad moment or two, it was a pattern. Al Hilal exploited that side again and again, and Madrid had no consistent way to stop it. From the very first phase of the game, it became clear that the communication between Trent Alexander-Arnold and Rodrigo wasn't working. When Madrid lost the ball and dropped into their mid-block, which resembled more of a 4-4-2, Trent often tucked inside to close central space. But Rodrigo either didn't track back or didn't shift at the right time. That left huge pockets of space out wide, and Al Hilal was sharp. They rotated quickly, passed with precision, and repeatedly targeted that exposed channel. It wasn't random, it was intentional. And it worked. One of the most glaring examples came when Rodrigo held his position to force play wide, while Trent was being dragged inside by Salim Al-Dosari. That allowed Renan Lodi to receive the ball in space. Trent was caught between the winger and the fullback, unable to recover, and it took a last-ditch interception from Raul Asensio to prevent a real goal-scoring chance. But it wasn't just that single moment, it kept happening. The lack of coordination between the right back and right winger was exploited throughout the first half, and it became clear that Madrid was vulnerable. At the same time, Rodrigo still didn't shift quickly enough to help cover for Trent, who once again found himself isolated. It ended with Al Hilal moving the ball comfortably into a central zone and nearly creating another big chance. These breakdowns weren't limited to just Trent and Rodrigo. Later in the game, when Lucas Vazquez replaced Trent and Brahim Diaz played on the right, the problem continued. In one sequence, Diaz was caught in no man's land, neither pressing the ball nor covering the space behind. It wasn't just a physical problem, it wasn't about pace or stamina, it was a structural issue. The right side didn't know how to move together. No one was reading the game 2 or 3 steps ahead, and that's a serious concern because Alonso's system demands a high level of positional intelligence. The way Madrid wants to press, with a high line and aggressive front foot, means that any weakness in structure will be exposed immediately. If your fullback steps up and your winger doesn't cover, you're done. If your midfielder hesitates for a second, the entire shape collapses, and that's what happened, repeatedly. What made it worse was the lack of support from the midfield. Players like Tchouaméni and Valverde weren't always quick to slide over and offer cover. There were moments when Al Hilal had a full overload on that side, their winger, fullback and sometimes even a central midfielder, and Madrid had only 2 men defending it. That's not sustainable. Against a better side, that's a goal every time. Now yes, it's still early. Alonso has had barely any time to drill these movements into the squad. Most of these players have only had a few sessions under him. But even with that context, the right side looked too fragile. There was no understanding of spacing, no consistent coverage, and no rhythm between the lines. It felt like an open invitation, and Al Hilal accepted it. This issue has to be fixed quickly, because if Madrid wants to press like Alonso wants them to press, they need to be compact, coordinated, and sharp in their defensive transitions. The right side isn't just a weakness right now, it's a liability, and until the players understand their roles in and out of possession, that weakness will keep getting exposed. But as worrying as that is, it's not the only problem, because in Madrid's most recent match another issue has emerged, one that's less tactical and more mental. Let's talk about the penalty situation. This next problem might not seem tactical, but it's just as serious. Real Madrid has a penalty problem, and it's been lingering for far too long. In the dying minutes of the match against Al Hilal, Fede Valverde had the chance to win it. One long shot from the spot, one clean strike, and Madrid walk away with 3 points and win in Alonso's debut. But he missed. And just like that, what could have been a statement win became another frustrating draw. This isn't about blaming Valverde. This is a trend. Real Madrid have now missed 7 of their last 19 penalties. That's over 1/3. To put it plainly, no major club in Europe has a worse recent record from the spot. And it's not just one player either. Mbappe has missed 3, Vinicius 2, Bellingham 1, and now Valverde joins that list. That's 4 different penalty takers all missing when it matters most. You can call it bad luck once, maybe even twice, but 7? That's not luck anymore, that's a systemic problem. And this kind of problem is trickery, because it's mental. It's about pressure, responsibility, and mindset. When a player steps up for Real Madrid, they're not just taking a penalty, they're carrying the weight of expectations, the badge, and the noise of the Bernabeu in their head. And what's becoming clear is that no one in this squad wants to own that moment. No one is stepping up with real authority. No one is making that position theirs. You'd expect that by now someone would have taken control, maybe a senior player, maybe someone like Mbappe or Jude, but instead it's been rotation, indecision, and hesitation. The worst part? Every penalty missed feels bigger than the last, because each time Madrid drops points or loses momentum. And in a knockout competition like the Club World Cup, one miss can be the difference between lifting a trophy and going home early. Xabi Alonso knows this isn't something you can fix with tactics. You can't draw a penalty routine on a clipboard. This is about psychology, about finding that one player who embraces pressure, not avoid it. Right now, there isn't a Sergio Ramos or Cristiano Ronaldo in this squad. There's no one who's automatic from the spot, and for a club like Real Madrid, that's a huge vulnerability. You can do all the tactical work in the world. You can build the best midfield, the cleanest build-up, the sharpest press, but if no one can put away a penalty in the 90th minute, it's all wasted. These are the margins that define elite football, and Madrid keeps falling short in them. What makes this worst is that the missed penalties reflect something deeper, a lack of assertiveness in big moments. This team still looks like it's waiting for someone else to lead, waiting for someone else to step up, and that's not how titles are won. The pressure doesn't stop there, because if there's one thing heavier than the weight of a penalty, it's the weight of expectations, and that's where we go to next. Let's talk about the pressure this squad is carrying, and why it might be too much. This is the heaviest challenge of them all, and maybe the most dangerous one. Forget the right flank, forget missed penalties. If Xabi Alonso doesn't solve this third issue, none of the tactics or talent will matter. Because this team, as it stands, is carrying a weight it doesn't fully know how to lift. The pressure to win everything immediately and the growing absence of real belief. Let's be honest, the squad is loaded with potential. Young, electric talents like Dean Howson and Franco Mastantuono, both brought in this summer to build for the future. You got world-class technicians, a midfield packed with energy, and now a new system that's aiming to bring more structure and clarity. Trent Alexander-Arnold was signed not just for what he offers with the ball, but because of the experience and leadership he brings at 26, something this young team desperately needs. But what's painfully clear is that, despite all this quality, there's still something missing: conviction. The last season ended in disappointment. Madrid fell short domestically and was completely outplayed in Europe by Arsenal. That kind of exit doesn't just hurt the ego, it chips away at identity. For a club built on the idea of being untouchable in big games, the confidence has been eroding, and you can see that in their body language. Even in the match against Al Hilal, a game they should have controlled, the team looked nervous, hesitant and unsure. They didn't play like a team with a clear belief they were the best on the pitch. They played like a team still trying to convince themselves they were good enough. And that's where the pressure becomes suffocating, because it's not just about the fans or the media, it's internal. These players know what's expected. They know Real Madrid doesn't tolerate transition seasons. They know trophies aren't optional. So when things don't click instantly, like Alonso's debut, the pressure multiplies. And without belief, pressure doesn't create diamonds, it just cracks the foundation. This is where Alonso has the hardest job, not drawing up tactical setups or choosing formations. His biggest task is emotional. He has to rebuild the self-belief that made Madrid different. The kind of belief that going behind in the 80th minute still feels like a winnable game. The kind of belief where no missed penalty breaks your flow. The kind of belief where every player feels 10 feet tall when they walk out in white. Even his former teammate Del Amo said it best: belief isn't something you build for one match, it's something you build every single day, and that's where Madrid have fallen short. No matter how good the signings are or how clever the tactics become, without belief it won't click. But Alonso has the tools, he has the personality. He's walked this road as a player, now he needs to transfer that identity into a group that's talented but still emotionally fragile. And the Club World Cup, while not the most glamorous tournament, gives him the perfect stage to build that confidence again. Because starting with a draw, it's not fatal, but letting doubt fester, that's how seasons fall apart. So where does that leave us? Alonso has the vision, he has the backing, but between structure, execution and mentality, there's still a mountain to climb. But what do you think? Can they go on to win the FIFA World? Well, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to check out our last video on why Barcelona's 2026 squad is crazy.